At 7:42 a.m., the phone rang inside the quiet suburban home. Helen Whitaker answered with the kind of casual calm that only comes from routine. She expected it to be her daughter calling to say she had arrived safely at work. Instead, a stranger's voice came through the receiver. "Is this the family of Eleanor Whitaker?" Helen paused. "Yes. This is her mother." The voice hesitated before continuing. "I'm calling from the Manchester Police Department. We need to ask you a few questions about your daughter." At first, Helen assumed there had been a mistake. Eleanor had left the house barely an hour earlier, dressed neatly for work, coffee in hand, the same way she did every weekday morning. But what the officer said next made the room suddenly feel smaller. "We believe your daughter may be missing." The word missing didn't seem real. It floated in the air like a sentence that belonged to someone else's life. Helen laughed nervously. "That's impossible," she said. She just left for work. But by noon that day, detectives had already begun searching. Because Eleanor Whitaker had never arrived. And as investigators would soon discover, the woman who vanished that morning may not have been the person anyone thought she was. Eleanor Whitaker was 32 years old. She lived in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Manchester, England in a modest brick house she had purchased 3 years earlier. To neighbors, she seemed like the kind of person every community trusted. Friendly, polite, reliable. She worked as a financial compliance analyst for a mid-sized consulting firm, a job that required precision, organization, and attention to detail. Her coworkers described her as intelligent but private. Eleanor was the kind of person who listened more than she talked, one colleague later told investigators. "You always felt like she knew more than she was saying. But nothing about her life seemed suspicious. She had stable employment, no known enemies, no financial struggles, no recent conflicts with friends or family, which made her sudden disappearance deeply unsettling. Even more troubling was the fact that Eleanor was known for something rare in the modern world. She was predictable. Every morning she left the house at 6:45 a.m. She stopped at the same cafe, ordered the same drink, then drove the same route to work. But on the morning of April 17th something was different. And someone noticed. At 6:58 a.m., a security camera inside a small cafe called the Lantern Coffee House captured Eleanor standing at the counter. She smiled politely at the barista, ordered her usual cappuccino, and waited near the window. Nothing seemed unusual. But when detectives reviewed the footage later, they noticed something subtle. Eleanor checked her phone. Then she looked toward the door. Not casually. Nervously. Her eyes moved quickly, scanning the room. Then she typed a short message. 30 seconds later, she left the cafe without taking her coffee. It was the last confirmed sighting of her. Detective Inspector Mark Halstead was assigned to the case that afternoon. Halstead had spent 20 years investigating missing persons cases across northern England. Experience had taught him one thing above all else. When someone disappears without explanation, the answer is almost always hidden in the details of their daily life. So he began with Eleanor's routine. Her workplace confirmed she had not arrived. Her phone last pinged near the cafe. Her car, however, was discovered hours later parked at a small commuter lot near the Manchester Piccadilly train station. That raised immediate questions. Because Eleanor never took the train, ever. Inside the car, detectives found her purse, her laptop bag, and her house keys. But one thing was missing. Her phone. That detail changed everything. If Eleanor had left voluntarily, she would have taken her belongings. If she had been forced, why leave the phone behind? Halstead believed the answer might lie in Eleanor's digital life. So investigators obtained a warrant and began analyzing her online activity. What they found initially appeared ordinary. Emails related to work, online shopping receipts, streaming accounts. But late that night, a junior analyst noticed something strange. A second email address. It was hidden inside Eleanor's browser login history. and it had never been mentioned to her family. The email account was registered under a different name. Clara Rowe. At first investigators assumed it was a mistake. Maybe an old account. Maybe spam. But when they accessed it, the truth became much stranger. The account was active. Very active. And the messages inside revealed something no one expected. Eleanor Whitaker had been communicating with people across multiple countries. The conversations mentioned ****, Berlin ****, Toronto ****, Prague. Some messages referred to travel plans. Others hinted at business deals. But the tone of the conversations suggested something deeper. Something hidden. Because in those messages, Eleanor Whitaker didn't exist. Only Clara Rowe did. Detective Halstead sat quietly as analysts scrolled through the emails. "Who is Clara Rowe?" he asked. No one had an answer. But one message stood out immediately. It had been sent just hours before Eleanor vanished. The subject line read, "We need to talk in person." The sender was located in ***, Berlin, Germany. And the message ended with a sentence that sent a chill through the room. "Your secret can't stay hidden forever." The discovery turned a routine missing person case into something far more complicated. Because suddenly investigators were faced with a disturbing possibility. Eleanor Whitaker had been living a second life. And no one knew why. The more detectives examined the Clara Rowe email account, the stranger the story became. There were bank notifications from an unfamiliar account. Travel confirmations under the Clara Rowe name. Even encrypted messages discussing meetings in cities Eleanor's family believed she had never visited. Halstead began building a timeline. 3 months earlier, Eleanor had taken a work conference trip to London. But airline records showed something different. She had flown to Amsterdam instead. 2 weeks later, she claimed she was visiting friends in Leeds. Her phone records, however, indicated a brief stay in Paris. The woman everyone thought they knew had been quietly traveling across Europe. But why? Then another discovery changed the direction of the investigation entirely. Inside Eleanor's apartment, hidden behind a stack of old notebooks, detectives found a second passport. The name on it was not Eleanor Whitaker. It was Clara Rowe. And the photograph was unmistakably the same woman. Detective Halstead stared at the document for a long moment. 2 identities. 2 passports. 2 lives. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to maintain a secret. And now that person had vanished. As investigators continued digging, new clues surfaced. Neighbors reported seeing unfamiliar visitors near Eleanor's home in the weeks before she disappeared. One described a tall man with a European accent who had knocked on the door late one evening. Another remembered Eleanor arguing quietly on the phone outside her car. But the most chilling detail came from a coworker. A woman named Rachel Lawson. Rachel recalled a conversation that had taken place just days before Eleanor vanished. She seemed distracted. Rachel told police. "I asked if everything was okay. And she said something strange." Rachel paused, trying to remember the exact words. She said, "Sometimes the person you pretend to be becomes more real than the person you actually are." Detective Halstead wrote the quote in his notebook. Then he looked up. "Did she say anything else?" Rachel nodded slowly. "Yes. She said someone from her past had found her." That statement raised a terrifying possibility. What if Eleanor's second identity wasn't just a secret life? What if it was a life she had been trying to escape? By the end of the first week, investigators had confirmed something undeniable. Eleanor Whitaker and Clara Rowe were the same person. But the Clara Rowe identity had connections across Europe. Connections that included individuals whose backgrounds were difficult to verify. Some worked in finance, others in private consulting. One had a record involving international fraud investigations. And one name appeared repeatedly. Lucas Varga. A businessman based in Prague. According to the Clara Rowe emails, Lucas had been pushing for a meeting. And the last message Eleanor received from him was sent the night before she vanished. The message was short, but its meaning was impossible to ignore. You can't keep running forever. Detective Halstead leaned back in his chair. He had worked many cases involving secrets. But this one felt different. Because every clue suggested Eleanor had been hiding something serious. Something big enough to require a second identity. Something big enough that someone might want her silenced. But the most troubling question remained unanswered. If Eleanor Whitaker had been living as Clara Rowe, then which identity had disappeared? And more importantly, which enemies belonged to which life? Mini cliffhanger. As investigators prepared to trace Eleanor's secret connections across Europe, a new piece of evidence arrived. A train ticket purchased the morning she vanished. Destination: Berlin. But the passenger name on the ticket wasn't Eleanor Whitaker. It wasn't even Clara Rowe. It was a third name. One detectives had never seen before. The discovery of the train ticket changed everything. For the first week of the investigation, detectives believed Eleanor Whitaker had either disappeared near Manchester or been taken somewhere nearby. But the ticket suggested something far more complicated. It had been purchased at 7:11 a.m., just minutes after she left the cafe where she was last seen. The destination printed on the ticket was London St. Pancras International, a major rail terminal that connected to high-speed trains across Europe. But what troubled Detective Halstead was not the destination. It was the name. The passenger name listed on the ticket was Anna Keller. Not Eleanor Whitaker. Not Clara Rowe. A third identity. And if that wasn't strange enough, the ticket had actually been used. Security footage confirmed it. At 8:03 a.m., a woman who looked exactly like Eleanor Whitaker passed through the train station gates. But she was not alone. Standing beside her was a man investigators had never seen before. The man was tall, with dark hair and a long gray coat. His face was partially hidden by the angle of the camera, but investigators could tell he was speaking to her. The footage revealed something subtle but disturbing. Eleanor didn't appear frightened. But she didn't appear relaxed either. Her posture was tense. Her movements cautious. As if she were walking beside someone she didn't completely trust. 30 seconds later, they disappeared into the crowd heading toward the London train platform. That was the last confirmed sighting of Eleanor Whitaker. Detective Halstead replayed the footage several times. The man's face remained difficult to identify, but one detail stood out. At one point, he leaned close to Eleanor and whispered something. She nodded slowly. Then she looked straight toward the security camera. For just a moment, her eyes met the lens. And in that brief instant, Halstead saw something that bothered him deeply. She looked afraid. The investigation quickly expanded beyond Manchester. Within hours, British authorities contacted Interpol and police departments in several European cities connected to the Clara Rowe emails. Berlin, Prague, Amsterdam. Each city held pieces of a puzzle that no one fully understood yet. But the first major lead came from Germany. 3 days after Eleanor disappeared, detectives in Berlin contacted Halstead's team with new information. A woman matching Eleanor's description had checked into a small boutique hotel near the Midi district. The reservation had been made under the name Anna Keller. The same name printed on the train ticket. Hotel staff remembered her clearly. She seemed nervous, one receptionist said. She kept looking over her shoulder. According to the hotel records, she stayed only one night. But something unusual happened during that stay. Someone visited her room. The visitor arrived around 10:40 p.m. Security footage captured a man entering the hotel lobby and asking for the room number. The receptionist later told police that the man spoke fluent English with a faint Eastern European accent. He appeared confident, calm, and familiar with the woman he was visiting. When investigators compared the hotel footage with the Manchester train station footage, they noticed something chilling. The man looked exactly the same. For nearly 2 hours, the visitor remained in Eleanor's room. No one heard raised voices. No signs of conflict. But when he finally left around midnight, something had changed. The receptionist described Eleanor's appearance when she walked him to the door. She looked shaken. The next morning, Eleanor checked out of the hotel. And that was the last time anyone in Berlin saw her. But the most important clue was left behind in the hotel room. Inside the small desk drawer, investigators discovered a folded piece of paper. It contained a handwritten note. 3 names were written on it: Lucas Varga, Anna Keller, Clara Rowe, and beneath them, a short sentence: "Only one of these can survive." Detective Halstead read the message several times. He had investigated cases involving aliases before, but rarely had he seen someone juggling 3 identities simultaneously, which raised an unsettling possibility. What if Eleanor Whitaker had not just been living a secret life? What if she had been trying to erase one? The next breakthrough came from Prague. When investigators contacted Czech authorities about Lucas Varga, they learned something unexpected. Lucas was not just a businessman. He had once been investigated for involvement in a complex financial fraud case involving offshore accounts across several European countries. The case had never led to formal charges, but investigators believed millions of dollars had vanished through a network of shell companies. And one name had appeared repeatedly during that investigation: Clara Rowe. Detective Halstead leaned forward as the Prague officer explained. Clara Rowe was listed as a financial consultant in several of the companies, the officer said. But we never confirmed if she actually existed. Halstead paused. She exists, he said quietly. And she's missing. The realization hit the investigation like a thunderclap. Eleanor Whitaker may have been connected to a massive international financial network. A network that involved secret identities, cross-border transactions, and people with strong motivations to protect their secrets. Suddenly, her disappearance looked less like a random crime, and more like the final chapter of a long-hidden story. Then came another twist. Digital forensic analysts examining Eleanor's hidden email account discovered a series of encrypted files. At first they appeared to be financial spreadsheets. But after several days of analysis, the files revealed something far more significant. They contained detailed records of offshore transactions tied to multiple European corporations. And several of those corporations were connected to Lucas Varga. The implication was explosive. Eleanor, under the Clara Rowe identity, may have been involved in documenting the very fraud authorities had once struggled to prove. But was she part of the scheme? Or was she trying to expose it? That question became the center of the investigation. Meanwhile, another witness came forward. A taxi driver in Berlin named Hassan Albrecht contacted police after seeing Eleanor's photo on the news. He believed he had driven her the morning she left the hotel. "She asked me to take her to the train station," Hassan said. But halfway there she changed her mind. Instead, she asked to be dropped off near a quiet street several blocks away. When Hassan asked if she needed help, she simply said something strange. "Someone is following the wrong person." Detective Halstead considered that statement carefully. If Eleanor was juggling multiple identities, perhaps someone was chasing one of them. But which one? And why? Then another chilling discovery surfaced. Inside Eleanor's Manchester home, investigators found a locked storage box hidden beneath the floorboards of a closet. Inside the box were dozens of documents, old passports, airline tickets, hotel receipts from cities across Europe, all connected to the Clara Rowe identity. But the most disturbing item was a small notebook. And on the final page was a message written in Eleanor's handwriting. "If anything happens to me, it means they finally figured it out." The message ended with a single word: Lucas. Suddenly the investigation had a clear suspect. But Lucas Varga had vanished. Prague authorities confirmed that he had left the country just days before Eleanor disappeared. His current location was unknown. Detective Halstead stared at the evidence board inside the Manchester investigation room. 3 identities, international travel, financial secrets, a missing woman, and a suspect who seemed to be one step ahead of every question. But something still didn't add up. Because if Lucas Varga wanted to silence Eleanor, why meet her in Berlin? Why leave witnesses behind? Why risk being seen on camera? Unless he wasn't the one in control. Then came the twist no one expected. Late one evening, a message arrived in the Clara Rowe email account. It had been sent from an unknown encrypted server. The subject line contained only 3 words. "You chose wrong." Attached to the message was a photograph. The image showed a quiet train platform somewhere in Europe. And standing alone near the edge of the platform was Eleanor Whitaker. The timestamp on the photo indicated it had been taken 2 days after she disappeared. Which meant one thing. Someone had seen her. And someone had taken the photo. But the real question was far more terrifying. Was Eleanor still running? Or had she been running from the wrong person all along? Mini cliffhanger. As investigators scrambled to identify the train station in the mysterious photo, a final detail caught their attention. A reflection in a nearby window revealed another figure standing behind Eleanor, watching her. And when analysts zoomed in on the reflection, the face looked familiar. Very familiar. When investigators zoomed in on the reflection behind Eleanor in the mysterious train platform photograph, the room fell silent. The image was blurred, distorted by the glass window beside the platform, but the outline of the figure was unmistakable. Tall, dark coat. The same silhouette seen in the Manchester station footage. The man who had been beside Eleanor the morning she vanished. For a moment, Detective Halstead believed the mystery might finally be nearing its end. But the closer analysts looked, the stranger the story became. Because the reflection revealed something no one expected. The man wasn't standing close to Eleanor. He was standing several meters behind her. Watching. Not guiding her. Not speaking to her. Watching her. As if he were following her. That detail shifted the entire investigation. Until that moment, detectives had believed Eleanor might have been traveling with the man willingly. But the photograph suggested something different. Something more unsettling. What if the man wasn't her partner, but her pursuer? For the next several days, investigators across Europe worked to identify the train station shown in the photograph. The platform sign was partially visible, but the image quality made it difficult to read. Finally, a transportation analyst in Germany recognized the distinctive steel canopy structure. The station was located in *** Hamburg, Germany. More importantly, security cameras there had recorded activity on the exact date and time stamped in the photograph. Authorities immediately requested the footage. What they discovered deepened the mystery even further. At **3:18 p.m. The cameras showed Eleanor Whitaker walking along the platform. Alone. She appeared tense, constantly looking behind her. Then the cameras captured the man. The same tall figure in the dark coat. He kept his distance, never approaching her directly, but always staying within sight. For nearly 20 minutes, the footage showed the same pattern. Eleanor pacing. The man watching. Neither speaking. Neither leaving. Until suddenly, Eleanor disappeared from the frame. The cameras never showed where she went. And the man followed shortly after. That was the last confirmed sighting of Eleanor Whitaker. Detective Halstead leaned back in his chair after watching the footage. Something about it didn't make sense. If the man was chasing her, why not confront her? Why maintain distance? Why allow her to move freely? Unless he wasn't trying to capture her. He was waiting for something. Or someone. Meanwhile, another discovery surfaced inside Eleanor's hidden files. Investigators found a folder labeled ***, failsafe. Inside were dozens of encrypted documents. When analysts finally unlocked the files, they revealed something explosive. Eleanor, under the identity Clara Rowe, had been collecting evidence. Evidence of a massive international financial scheme involving offshore accounts, shell companies, and millions of dollars moving across borders. The documents contained transaction records, corporate structures, and communication logs linking several high-level figures in the European finance world. Lucas Varga's name appeared repeatedly. But he wasn't alone. Several other individuals were listed. Some were powerful business leaders. Others worked inside government financial oversight departments. The files suggested something disturbing. Eleanor had not been participating in the fraud. She had been documenting it. That revelation changed the narrative entirely. Eleanor Whitaker wasn't hiding because she was guilty. She might have been hiding because she knew too much. Then investigators discovered something even more unsettling. The files included a series of personal notes written by Eleanor herself. In them, she described how she had originally been recruited to work under the Clara Rowe identity as a financial consultant. At first, the job seemed legitimate. But over time, she realized the companies she worked with were moving enormous sums of money through complex international accounts. Money that investigators suspected came from illegal sources. Eleanor wrote that when she tried to leave, things changed. People began watching her. Emails arrived warning her not to interfere. Phone calls late at night with no one speaking on the other end. Eventually, she began creating evidence files in secret, preparing a plan to expose the network. One note, written just weeks before her disappearance, stood out. If something happens to me, it means they discovered the files. But that raised a crucial question. If Eleanor planned to expose the network, why run? Why not simply go to authorities? The answer appeared in another note. Someone inside the system is protecting them. Detective Halstead realized the situation might be more dangerous than anyone initially believed. If Eleanor had evidence of international financial corruption involving powerful figures, the list of potential suspects could be enormous. And any of them might have reason to silence her. But the final twist came from a source no one expected. 2 weeks after the Hamburg footage was discovered, an anonymous envelope arrived at the Manchester police station. Inside was a single photograph. The image showed Eleanor standing on a quiet street somewhere in Europe. She looked tired, but alive, and written on the back of the photograph were 5 words. She chose to disappear. The message raised a terrifying possibility. What if Eleanor had not been captured at all? What if she had escaped? Investigators returned to the Hamburg station footage with a new theory. Perhaps the man following Eleanor wasn't her enemy. Perhaps he was someone else tracking her. Maybe even someone trying to protect her. Or maybe someone trying to retrieve the evidence she carried. But the footage never showed the two speaking. Which meant one of two things. Either Eleanor was unaware she was being followed, or she was deliberately avoiding contact. Months passed. Then a year. The international investigation slowly lost momentum. Without clear evidence of a crime, authorities had limited legal grounds to pursue suspects across multiple countries. Lucas Varga remained missing. Several individuals named in Eleanor's documents denied any involvement. And despite countless searches across Germany, Prague, and other European cities, Eleanor Whitaker was never located. Eventually, the case was reclassified as a** cold case disappearance. But the questions surrounding it never faded. Because the deeper investigators looked into Eleanor's life, the stranger it became. A woman with 3 identities. Connections to an international financial network. Evidence hidden in encrypted files. And a final sighting on a train platform where she seemed to vanish into thin air. Detective Halstead often revisited the evidence. He believed the answer was hidden somewhere in the details. Maybe Eleanor had successfully escaped the people chasing her. Maybe she was living under yet another identity somewhere in the world. Or maybe someone eventually caught up with her. But without proof, the truth remained out of reach. Years later, Eleanor Whitaker's name still appears on missing persons databases across Europe. But investigators remain divided about what truly happened. Some believe she was a whistleblower who disappeared to protect herself. Others think she became a victim of the very network she tried to expose. And a few believe the most unsettling possibility of all. That Eleanor Whitaker planned the entire disappearance herself. Leaving behind just enough clues to keep the world searching. While she started a completely new life somewhere no one would ever think to look. And that leaves one haunting question. If Eleanor Whitaker really was living multiple lives, how many identities did she leave behind? And could one of them still be out there today? Drop your comments respectfully and subscribe to be part of Cold Case Journey.